Okay, last week I told you guys about my ailerons seizing up, so I thought I'd go over a little bit about that. The flight started out perfectly normal. I mean, other than being really cold. It's 21 degrees, and wind chill way low. But anyways, I checked my flight controls before taxiing. I checked my flight controls before takeoff, and I had good movement of all my flight controls. And then on rollout, everything was normal. Tachometer was good. There was snow on the ground, so my eyes were outside, making sure I felt like I had airspeed and was going to get enough airspeed. I got the airspeed, I took off. I was climbing like crazy because of the cold, brisk air. And then I noticed my tachometer said 10,000 some odd RPM, 11,000 RPM even. And it just kind of confused me and really distracted me. Although I kept my airspeed up and everything, then I banked crosswind, and at about 400 feet, I got a gust, and I'm still climbing fairly quick, rapidly, and I was about 400 feet and climbing fast, and I got a gust from the left, and I tried to, bring my left wing down, and my ailerons were seized up. So I've got all this going on. And of course, I immediately realized, okay, I need to steer with my rudder, and but I didn't focus enough on my elevator and my airspeed and my climb rate. I got way high. Instead of just getting in pattern altitude and coming right back in, I got to 2,200 feet, which is 1,000 feet, and our pattern altitude is 500. So now I've got to bring it up way down and get in the pattern and with the rudder. So steering with the rudder is no big deal if you have airspeed. You make sure you keep your airspeed up. If you do get down near your DMMS, your determined minimum maneuvering speed, which is marked on your airspeed indicator, should be. If you get down near that, you want to be real gentle on your rudder, because every time you kick that rudder, you're skidding, and you don't want to be skidding down near your DMMS, or especially below it. The other thing that's real scary is if you do accidentally get too slow, and you know that you're a little slow, and one of your wings drops, do not use your aileron. If you do have ailerons, don't use your aileron. You want to kick the opposite rudder. The opposite rudder, neutral aileron, the opposite rudder, it'll swing that wing into the air and pick you up, stick forward, and you'll get your airspeed back, and you'll kick that other wing into the air and get it lifting again. But, all right, so when you start steering with your rudder, and you want to practice this just to get a feel for it, you're going to go into a roll, but initially, the first initial kick of that rudder, you're going to go into a skid. That's a skid. And then as you roll, and release the rudder, you're going to be in a roll, and now you got to skid. But now skidding with this wing low this way is no big deal, because you're actually reducing the lift on the up wing, and you get it level. But each time you do that, it's not bad when you're in the pattern, but on descent and approach to the airstrip with the crosswind, that was very difficult, because I got a forest on this side, a forest on this side, and it's fairly clear all the way in, but I got woods on each side, about 70-foot trees, and I've got a crab, so I'm steering like this with my rudder, and I'm angled like this and crabbed into it and coming in the whole way and trying to release it. And then each time I have to push it a little more, I'm being real cautious, because even though I got good airspeed, that's still a bit of a skid. That initial, I got a low wing here, and I'm skidding away from it. So you got to be careful. And but I finally got down and tried to get it as straight on the runway as I could. Right at the last minute, I didn't worry about wings level. I just got the nose straight with the, and I touched down one wheel, no big deal. Settled in just perfect. No bounce. Everything was perfect. So lots of people have difficulty starting to chair fly. If you've had any sight view of flying, if you've been up in the air, you should be able to do it relatively easy, but make sure when you're flying scenarios and you're practicing, make sure that you're using correct inputs, because many things are counterintuitive, you know. Whenever you're dropping towards the ground, one of the worst instincts, most common instinct, is to pull back on the stick and shove out on your feet, you know, jam your feet into the rudders and pull back on the stick. That's your, like pulling on the reins of a horse and putting your feet in the stirrups and pushing forward. That's the instinct. And that's the worst thing you can do. Even at 30 or 40 feet off the ground in an ultralight, if you stall, you want to shove that stick forward and shove your throttle full forward. Neutral ailerons, even if you're dropping a wing. If you're dropping a wing, neutral ailerons, kick the opposite rudder, and just wait that second or two, and then pull back. And you're going to lift that wing, and by the time you're going to be pulling back at what seems the last second, your wing's going to be coming up. I've been there, I've done it. Probably the most important thing that you can practice for startle effect, in other words, something goes wrong and you get upset, in any upset, is to go neutral with your ailerons, stick forward, and be prepared to use your rudder to stop a spin. And you stomp on the opposite direction you're falling or spinning towards with the rudder. But don't use your ailerons, especially close to the ground. I don't know how many people I've seen, even people with thousands of hours, stall pilots, in a competition. And they're coming in slow and just barely on the edge of a stall, because that's what they're practicing. And then their wing starts to drop and they throw an aileron. And then they cartwheel. Even with that much experience, the tendency to do the wrong thing still is there. And it's video evidence of it. That's exactly what they've done. And it happens every year. It happens again. So practice shoving the neutral ailerons, stick forward till you get light in the seat. You feel the plane get light in your seat. That's what you want to practice. And I've been there and I've done that. So many different things. For some reason, I just seem to get caught in windy things and bad currents and probably just a bad pilot. But I've saved myself because I've practiced all these upset recovery scenarios. That's it.
All right. That was better than the last one.
Well, I came out to surely find out what is wrong with my ailerons, but I was sure I was going to find they were off the track, but it appears they're, well, maybe, hold on. Yeah. Both sides are fully on the track. So my ailerons have freedom of movement, and I don't know why. It's a quandary. Well, that's very frustrating. I do not like not knowing what happened. While I'm out here, though, I'm going to go ahead and inspect my propeller. I seem to have a little bit of a vibration it comes from the prop. So I'm going to check my prop to see if the bolts, it hasn't cut into the hub to, tilt the prop one way or the other. Always make sure your ignition is off and you stand clear of the prop as you pull it through, because remember, a mag is always live, it's just grounded. If that ground gets cut somehow, your prop is live. Okay, that's pretty much the same. I mean, I could bring this in a little closer. All right. Okay, I don't think there's 10 thousandths between that and the prop. Hopefully it doesn't touch on this. Nope, that looks pretty much the same. This, I mean, this has just a pinch more clearance. Maybe. If it's 10 thousandths clearance, it's not much more. Oh, this time it hit. Of course, when you're pushing it with your hand, that's enough to make, yeah, evidently just my hand pushing it. So that looks like about 10 thousandths clearance. Yeah. It ain't gonna get much better than that, so I'm not sure. Maybe it's something else.